Hello there, TikTok family. I wanted to talk about the U-turn that Shabana Mahmood has appeared to make. But really, it's not really that she's made a U-turn. She's just had to comply with international law that she probably didn't realise she had to do before. So, so that's the situation. So I wanted to read my notes so that I get it clear, I have enough time, I don't get myself in a tizzy, and like my throat plays up when I ad lib. So I'm going to see if I can do this video without losing my voice. So, how do we choose between the rights of refugees and the anxieties of voters? The Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, recently said the illegal entry penalty will not be applied to people who have been recognised as refugees. It sounds like a simple clarification, but underneath these words lies a bigger story about law, about humanity, and the daily lives of people fleeing danger. Legally, this sentence means that if someone escapes danger, war, persecution, torture, and reaches the UK by an irregular route, they will not be criminally punished. If the government later concludes they truly are a refugee, no prosecution for arriving in a dinghy, no criminalisation for hiding in a lorry, no punishment for using forged documents to flee danger. This aligns the UK with the Refugee Convention, which recognises that real refugees rarely have the luxury of tidy paperwork. But it's important to understand that this protection only applies after the person is fully officially recognised as a refugee. Before that, asylum seekers live in temporary accommodation, often far from family and friends, with limited financial support, no work rights, and uncertainty stretching from months into years. Some waits can go on for 2 years. During that period, asylum seekers can be detained, be removed to a safe third country, be left with extremely limited support, or be issued with rapid refusal decisions. If a claim is rejected, rightly or wrongly, any protection evaporates. Removal becomes much more likely. So Mahmood's line is accurate but narrow. It protects the confirmed, not the claimant. It shields the recognised, not the waiting. Protection exists during this waiting period. The law requires it, but it doesn't guarantee comfort. It guarantees survival. As much as many may criticise asylum seekers who come to the UK in small boats, their life of waiting, surviving and planning for the future is no walk in the park. By law, Britain cannot send someone back to a country where their life or freedom is at risk. That's the 1951 Refugee Convention, signed after World War II, when the world promised never again. You might ask, why is the UK obliged to a treaty they signed 74 years ago? That is because treaties are designed to be binding until properly withdrawn. The UK could try to leave the UNHCR Convention, but it would be legally complex, politically explosive, and morally controversial. And it wouldn't instantly erase its duties to protect people fleeing from danger. And that's the thing with the government not wanting to share that they are obliged to this UNHCR convention, because they don't want to feel the public. They don't want the public to feel they're being controlled by a document. So it's normally kept under wraps, but that's the reality of the situation. So some might ask, why would asylum seekers get stability when we don't have any? Why should they think 5, 10, 15 years ahead? Asylum seekers are not asking for luxury, although luxury is relative. They are asking for the right to survive, to plan, to hope, which is a human instinct. the same instinct that drives any parent, any child, and any one of us. A lot of people confuse asylum seekers with refugees, non-whites, and anyone who has an accent with illegal immigrants and lump them all in one boat. However, asylum seekers are waiting for a claim to be decided. Refugees are recognised under the international law, and non-whites can be born in the UK and therefore be British citizens. Illegal immigrants are those who enter or stay without permission and without claiming asylum. Race, ethnicity, or nationality has nothing to do with legal status, yet many believe that anyone non-white must be illegal. That's misinformation, it's bias, and it's just untrue. Asylum seekers who seek stability aren't being greedy, but it is hard trying to get Indigenous people who are struggling in the UK to understand this. The law requires the UK to provide temporary protection, and that protection exists to prevent harm. It is not generosity, it's duty. Empathy for refugees does not take anything away from those already here. Protecting them from danger, giving them a chance to rebuild, ensures that Britain honours both its legal obligations and its moral responsibility. So what Shabana Mahmood is saying is that if you're a genuine refugee, a person who is fleeing war, persecution, torture, the UK will not punish you for the way you arrived. That might sound obvious, but in Britain's current climate, it isn't. For years, the political conversation has been shaped by a single idea. If you come here illegally, you'll face the consequences. Strong words repeated endlessly from podiums, in interviews, on campaign trails, and those words have power. So here's where the emotional tension begins. Real refugees almost never have the option of coming legally. That's the uncomfortable truth behind this story. There are no queues in war zones, no visas in refugee camps, no bookable ferry crossings out of ethnic cleansing. Most refugees, the real ones, the ones international law recognises, reach safely by whatever route they can. And Britain, like any other Western democracy that signed the Refugee Convention, knows that. So Mahmood's clarification is legally speaking, simply aligning the UK with obligation it has already had. To some members of the public, especially those who bought into the previous government rhetoric, this sounds like a retreat, a U-turn, a politician stepping back from a tough promise. And that perception matters because even if her statement is legally correct and morally uncontroversial, people don't hear technicalities. They hear whether a minister's words match the mood they were expecting. And many people were expecting iron fist toughness, no distinction between illegal entry and refugee status. Critics will say she promised strong borders, now she's creating loopholes. She said illegal entry would carry penalties, now she's exempting people. But legal experts will argue she's respecting international law. Mahmood's clarification that they will not be penalised for arriving illegally once recognised is a reminder that the law and humanity can coexist. Waiting, surviving and planning for the future is not a gift. It is a right we are obliged to uphold, and understanding that truth is the first step towards a more compassionate, informed public. So I do hope that kind of I won't say open up your eyes because it sounds a bit patronising, but I think a lot of us, we have an idea about what we want done, and we do not understand the legalities and what the government has committed to or need to do or have to do or compelled to do. So while we want one thing, even if they want to do it, they have to come to a compromise and they have to comply with their legal obligations. And that is what's happening now. So now I think there's a kind of a balance where what she's saying is that, look, you're not going to have, you're not going to have a cushy time while you're waiting. We're going to make it, you've got somewhere to live or whatever it is they're going to do. I'm not quite sure, even if it's a detention centre, but that's all we're doing.